What's happened to the goatee stew? Why is it gone?
A change of look for Saturday. I thought, well,
so you've just gone for the old bugger grips instead.
Yeah, well, see, that's what did you say? Mutton something?
Mutton chops, I said.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I thought, well, I'll go for a different look when I'm quarantined and no one else can see me, so it doesn't matter.
It looks like you're going to be a butcher. We don't think. I don't know why.
Fingerless gloves on.
Yeah, what's the name of the guy from the League of Gentlemen? Hillary.
Oh, Hillary Briss. Yeah, that's it.
Have you got any of it in?
Special stuff.
Special stuff. That's it.
Hello and welcome to Cage Fighting. It's your main man Andy Gillard here. Hope everyone's doing well out there.
Matt Guy here. Hope everybody's keeping well this evening.
Stu here. Hello. I'm just going to go by Stu now. We don't need second names. Not anymore.
We're all friends now.
Yeah, everyone's now. Single terms only.
True. How are we doing this fine evening, gentlemen? We all good?
Good, mate. Good, mate. It's temperature's dipped a little bit. It's been snowing in the last week or so we've kind of locked in more so than usual, landlocked inside because I live on a canal hill, and there's always cars that get stuck on the bottom of the hill, and I always look out there like some kind of mad king on the throne saying, "Shall I push the cars up the hill? No, I won't." And just let them stay there.
You make it sound like you live at the top of Peppa Pig's house. The top of a canal hill.
Honestly though, like cars proper get stuck on the bottom, so that's what you get for buying rear wheel drive BMWs though.
Was in that bus in Halifax today. It's shocking.
I heard about this.
Yeah, that's horrific. That is.
Yeah,
I mean, that could easily have toppled over. It's like nothing scares me more than being stuck in a car on ice. It just sounds fucking terrible. Don't know what it is.
Well, when I used to do the coal over Albury, we were in. I always get a giggle.
It does.
You used to do the coal.
It was proper odd. Like them coal sacks, are like 8 stone each, and you're chucking them over your back. And when you're doing like 20 a drop as well. And I was proper. I say proper buff because I wasn't. I was just fitter than I am now. But we did that in one of the days. It did ice over like that, and we were going sideways in a coal truck down a hill in Albury. And it was, but because these trucks are like from the 60s, they had no seatbelts either, and legally that's fine. So we thought, oh well, whatever happens.
How did the end of the industrial age affect your work prospects, Stu?
If I could do it again, I would go back in an instant because it was a great laugh. But it's hard work.
I'm sure it is, mate.
Yeah, it sounds it. So we'll get on to the meat of the podcast. I think we'll start off with a bit of news. At time of recording, we're actually recording on the 14th of January. That is the day that the Scott Pilgrim versus the World has finally been released. We've been waiting a decade for this game. And it's back in our hearts and on our PlayStations or Switches, whatever you've got. Make sure you get hold of it. It's a wonderful game. There's other sort of film come game news. We've been told that an open world Star Wars game is on its way. And we're also getting a new Indiana Jones game. And I think of all of them, like Indiana Jones, I'm really quite excited for. We've seen Star Wars and we know what to expect from open world games. But I remember Indiana Jones. I think there was one on the NES way back, and it was terrible. So I think when you look at stuff like how they've bought out Tomb Raider and everything like that in the last sort of 10 years or so, Indiana Jones, there's like some real scope there to do some amazing things.
I'd like to see it be more of a adventure / puzzler than a straight up action game. I know they'll probably go like down the Uncharted route with it, which wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. I just hope it's not like a. We've seen like really rushed together games like like this to make the most of a licensing, and they'll just throw any old shit out just because it's got a cover that people will recognise and people will buy. So I just hope that they don't. Like Assassin's Creed games, I suppose it's the other way. Actually, Assassin's Creed games are great. Film, not so great. I hope this is the other way. I hope it works the other way around. The Star Wars one really excites me, though. To be fair, an open world Star Wars game. Again, I'd want it to be more kind of like Skyrim, like really, with the chance to explore, than like Jedi Fallen Order was very. You will explore, but you do it on our terms when we want you to do it, and you'll be punished if you do it otherwise.
Yeah, I think they could just rip off Tomb Raider, which is a rip off of Uncharted, which is a rip off of Tomb Raider. So it's just the snake eating its own tail, ain't? But remember about 2 months ago when we talked about on there where Matt was getting all jealous about us playing Spider-Man and Xbox not having it, and just the innocence that Andy doesn't realise that this Indiana Jones games is Xbox exclusive.
Oh, is it really?
Oh,
I didn't
really?
see that, to be fair.
It's
quite disappointed now.
Jump on that S train, get one, 250 quid. But it's made by Bethesda, who are now owned by Microsoft, so there's no deal in place for that game. It's new, so it could be, it could not be. No one knows yet, but it wouldn't. They haven't got a game like that, have they? So it wouldn't surprise me if to have a game like Indiana Jones just to have Indiana Jones.
If it isn't a Harrison Ford game scan face / voice acting, are you interested?
No, not even slightly. It's got to be Ford or nobody.
I agree personally, yeah. Because obviously they can do as much as they want. It's not like he's gonna have to motion capture the game, but they need his likeness and they need his voice for legitimacy, surely.
Well, they said it's in that universe, so I don't think it's even remotely. I don't think he's got a choice to veto this one either. So they won't use his voice because he's old and knackered, but they can get Troy Baker to do an impression and it'll be fine. But his likeness easily, they can fix that. I presume that they own his likeness and not him.
Yeah,
because they do.
At least it's that character.
So,
yeah, especially with Star Wars and all that stuff that he can't have say over everything. And they brought him back to do things he didn't want to do. So who knows? But yeah, unless you're going young Indiana Jones, which wasn't terrible, but it's not that, is it? So we don't think so.
Well, hopefully not. Anyway. In other news, it's been rumoured that Jodie Whittaker has said that she no longer wants to be the Doctor after this latest season. Stu, I know that you're a Whovian, much like myself. Thoughts on Jodie and her run?
I liked her. She's never been a problem about that show. Some of the, as always, some of the writing's been a bit dodgy, and some has just been downright shit. But on the other side of it, some of it has been really good, and I did enjoy the New Year special. I know you didn't like it as much, but I really liked that the kind of new direction they were kind of hinting at with a bit more comedy in it, and it's a shame, really. She's had a decent run, and if this is true, and she wants to leave at 3 series like a lot of them, then so be it. I mean, she's not going to be remembered as the worst one. She'll always be the first non-white English Doctor, so it is what it is. But yeah, she'll be fondly remembered if she does leave.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of her work, like in general and on the show. I think Chibnall as the showrunner has been quite hit and miss, if I'm perfectly honest. Where do we go next? I know we've both sort of petitioned for Rahul Kohli early doors.
It's the only choice. I mean, I've been saying about Rahul Kohli for years. Even before she got the job, I said, well, I'll give it to Rahul, and no one knew who he was then. Apart from extreme nerdists like us who watched iZombie. Have you watched iZombie, Matt?
I've watched it through Sam, so she's watched all of it, and I've been in the room for like 2/3 of it.
Yeah, so you know who he is.
Yeah, I know who he is. Yeah, he's a very funny character, and that, to be fair, quite likable in it.
Yeah, and if when you follow him on Twitter, that is him. That is his personality. So he'd be perfect for me.
Isn't Ayawadi heavily linked to be the Doctor, or was that like a fake news?
He's been linked a few times previously, but never sort of seemingly never got close to it. I'm a big fan of Richard Ayoade, but I'm not sure if he's
No, that it's
too
not.
too
It's,
comedic.
to quote an IT crowd reference, it's not for you, Jen. But no, it's really not. It's really not for him. It is too comedic, but not. He's dry humor and everything. He's great in it in like a. Well, I want to say in a non-fictional setting, actually, just Travel Man and like 8 out of 10 Cats was Counting Down and all those kind of things. I just can't see it. I really just can't see it.
His humour isn't playful, and I think the Doctor needs to have a more playful outlook. Like I say, I'm a massive fan of everything else he does. I just don't see him in that. One of the other names that was linked was Himesh Patel. I do like him, and Daniel Kaluuya, who is just another guy I really like. So early shouts. Like, I am quite excited to see what's going to happen next, and like there's a world of possibility, especially with the last season opening the doors. So I'm excited to see where we're going to be going with this one. After all of the Disney goodness that we were told about, there's been more news coming out. Apparently, Ben Affleck is going to be directing a series. I don't know if it's a series or a single film, but it's based on a series of books called The Keeper of the Lost Cities. It's a young adult series in the same vein as Harry Potter and the His Dark Materials. Matt, are you a fan of Batfleck and his directorial work?
I am, to be fair. I think he's an intelligent director, and I think he treads that fine line between having control over what the final product is that he wants to put out, but also allowing the actors under his care and due diligence to kind of roll and put their own stamp on things. I think he has like a good attention to detail. Argo showed that. And I just think that if they avoid the CGI clusterfuck with it and allow a bit of a storytelling aspect to be there as opposed to a visual spectacle, then I think it can be a really, really good project. If it goes down the route of being a AAA blockbuster style feel, I may not feel it'll be as suited for it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think his best work tends to have a personal feel to it. I think Argo, Gone Baby Gone, they felt like they were small, intimate stories, maybe on a bigger scale. But and also The Town, I think he was very good job with The Town. Obviously, he starred in The Town as well as directed it. But I thought that was a marvellous film. He even pulled a good performance out of fucking Jeremy Renner, for crying out loud. Like, he knows what he's doing to get the best out of people. I will actually give this a chance. I know nothing of the series, so looking forward to seeing where that goes. Speaking of Batfleck, he's co-star from Justice League, Gal Gadot. She's confirmed to be returning for Wonder Woman 3 as is Patty Jenkins. And also returning, Chris Evans is reportedly not yet done with Captain America. He won't be coming back as a sort of full-time Cap. It'll be more of a supporting cast. Obviously, in the comic books, they've done this before where he's not been the main focal point, and you've had the Falcons gone on to wear the shield or Bucky. So again, there's plenty of backstory there that they can run with. And finally, we get an idea of what the Amazon Studios take on Lord of the Rings is going to be. They've released their official synopsis. Apparently, it will be set during the fabled Second Age of Middle-earth's history, set thousands of years before the events of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. It will take viewers back to an era which has great powers, in which great powers were forged, kingdom rose to glory and fell to ruin. Unlikely heroes were tested, hope hung by the finest of threads, and the greatest villain that ever flowed from Tolkien's pen threatened to cover all the world in darkness. I mean, that's almost a fucking Tolkien-style setup just for a synopsis. Like, I've never read any Tolkien, so I've got to be honest, I don't particularly know anything about the Second Age or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So, are you excited about this new series that's coming out?
I am. I think there's so much more that world can give. I know, Stu, you're
I
more
can't
of.
fucking wait.
I know you're bigger. You're more into this world than I am, but I think at the moment there's so much pressure on companies like Amazon and Netflix and that to just pump out continuously excellent content that I think we're just in an age now where we're just absolutely spoilt for choice, and companies are just blasting out belter after belter on things that we enjoy. So the more the merrier, I say.
I mean, that
Yeah, definitely.
they've spent over $200 million just on the rights for this series, and
Wow.
they've already filmed the first two back. Well, I don't know if they've finished now because of what happened, but the intention was to film season 1 and 2 back to back in New Zealand, which was absolutely fine. So you'd hope that it was already done. But if it's got a 5-season run, like they said, and 2 are already in the can, then bring it on. Especially if they're going to do water stuff as well, which they never really talked about in either trilogy. Really, it was kind of hinted at with the ghosts and. I was trying to keep it spoiler free. It's stuff from like the 1920s, but yeah, in the in Return of the King, there was more water stuff in that. But if it's going to be like Lord of the Rings, Atlantis, and things that have been hinted at on the Lord of the Rings forums, which I do go on, obviously, then yeah, bring it on. I mean, it's a bit. I wouldn't have called it Lord of the Rings, obviously, because unless that's going to be the closing thing of the whole show, where you see the rings forged, that'd be a cool way to end it. But but you got the Middle Earth games, which are canon anyway, so it could have been called Middle Earth. I don't know, stories from the past or something. A better name than that, but you know what I mean. So
Yeah,
I know why they're doing it, calling it Lord of the Rings, because obviously it's box
ties
office
in,
8.
doesn't it?
So
Yeah.
I can't wait. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah, I'll be interested. I mean, I'm not a massive fan of the films, as I've already said, that they're a bit long, and I've not seen the Hobbit trilogy. But like Matt said, Amazon and Netflix and all these companies, they've been giving us their best. Like, you know, they haven't scrimped on giving us great stories. So as long as there's a good enough story there, I'll give it a chance, and it might be something that does get me into that world, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, when he talks about that, about Netflix putting out the best content, and we had that thing about a new Netflix film every week coming from them of like proper top quality and not just indies, which is just, I mean, there's hardly any detail to it yet, so we can't really talk about it in depth. But even just the fact that that's a thing that's happening is just something to look forward to now.
Yeah, it's a mad world, isn't it? So let's do listeners' question time. Matt, have we had some tweets in from our listeners?
We certainly bloody have, mate. We're going to start off with Simon Gold wants to know. So it's kind of linked into the bit of news, really. Video game movie adaptations have a dreadful reputation. You would think it should be easy, as most are action films. So why can no one seem to crack the formula? And are they all really that bad?
Oh, where do you even start? I think the big problem with it is the fact that people think games means children's toys, and so that's where you had with the infamous Mario film. But then, it's almost like they take the license and they think, oh well, we just throw any kind of shit out, and the people who spend them £60 a year or £60 whenever a new game comes out, they'll come and watch this regardless of how good it is. That's how it feels, and it has done for a long time.
Yeah.
Andy, what do you think?
I think when you look at games, especially games from the past, because we haven't had so many adaptations of modern ones, the historical games, like your Super Mario Brothers, they tend to have been, their storylines are great, but they're very one-dimensional stories. There's no subtlety, there's no subtext. So if you just try and transpose that from your computer screen to the cinema screen, there isn't that tension between the action and the script. There isn't that depth. So I think that's what's hindered it previously. I think when you look at the more modern films, which are based on more modern games, A modern game is like 30 hours worth of gameplay and storytelling, and they're trying to condense it into a 2-hour film.
True.
So they're sort of having to jump around and miss parts out, and I think that's the problem with the modern versions of it. It's almost like they're not compatible with each other.
Yeah.
But you'll always get people who'll be sniffy towards computer games because, as Stu said, they're seen as a childish endeavour. But they're anything but when you look at the depth of some of the stories that get told in computer games now.
I think the only way for me to have a real success in terms of a content, now what we have to distinguish the difference between is a financial success of a film and then a critical success of a film. We might think that these films are shit, but actually they might do fantastic numbers and therefore they are successful and they'll continue to get made. What we want as gamers is almost as a film being an additional DLC quest to something that we already enjoy. We don't need introductions to characters. We don't need this. We don't need that. We just want an extension of what we already enjoy, but we're never going to get that in a film.
Yeah,
because
I think
that's not what films are. They are an introduction to other people, fresh new faces to this product, not an extension of what we already like, and that's why the films aren't as good, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's my major problem with the Last of Us series as well. I mean, making that into a series on HBO and spending shitloads on it. Again, like we've said, TV companies spending big bucks on big licenses and big projects, but if they'd have made The Last of Us based on, I don't know, like the Ish Diaries, if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's like there's this character called Ish who's never seen. It's just like it's like collectible pieces of paper throughout the game, telling you like this story and things like that, but you never see him. So they could have done it on that. But obviously, The Last of Us is Joel and Ellie, and that's what they're going to do. And they're going to retell a whole 20-hour game in a 10-part series. But it's a story that we all know. People who've loved that game anyway, who've played that game, know the story already. So it's kind of, it is like what you said, Matt, it's treading on old ground. But that's the only way you're going to get people into it, and that's the only way you're going to get it financed. But the only other way is embrace the childishness, and the actual film that nearly got on my top 5 list was Sonic, because that was class.
True. Right, let's do some quick fire ones then. I'll go individually so we can get through all of them. Tom Kearney wants to know if you could turn one film into a series, expanding on the plot points, more character development, etc. What would you choose, Andy Gillard?
Ooh, I don't know if this is just because we've recently watched it, but how good would an expanded version of Raising Arizona be? You could actually look and have a series about the criminals. You could have a series about the family who had the children and then finding them, like them dealing with the babies being kidnapped and dealing with all of that stuff. You could just specifically go in on HI. Like, I think there's a lot of scope there because those characters were all interesting, and I want to know more about all of them. So I think that would be an excellent shout.
Absolutely fair. Right, Ash Dolan wants to know, direct this one at Stu, what is your favourite cameo featuring a sportsman? Caveat that they can't have gone on to be an actor, so no Dwayne or Vinny on the Juggernaut, bitch, Jones. His personal use has to be Iron Mike Tyson in The Hangover, singing Phil Collins was superb.
Yeah,
so favourite sportsman cameo, Stu?
It's not really a cameo because he's in it more, but there's a Scottish film that we have to do for Filmcast eventually that stars Ali McCoist.
Oh, really?
And it's not really a cameo because he has got a few lines and he's like integral to the plot and he's playing like the old washed up player thing, but it's Ali McCoist acting. And what's it called? I should have looked this up before, shouldn't I? But yeah, we absolutely need to do that because it's one of them things that you think up on a Friday night in the pub, well, when we had pubs. Back
when I used to shove coal, I used to haul the 8-stone bags around, and I'd go and have a pint of bitter afterwards. Sorry.
See, Ali McCoist is not on IMDb by the looks of it.
Well, I'm disappointed that it wasn't Alan Shearer in goal, to be honest.
That's appalling, that one is. So the first film that came to my mind was Ace Ventura with Dan Marino being in it.
Yeah.
I loved Ace Ventura. I do like Jim Carrey anyway, but yeah, seeing that question, the first thing that I thought, yeah.
Okay,
say hello to Mr. Kanish, and he pulls his dress down. I got of that film.
It's from 2000. This film, and it features Michael Keaton, Robert Duvall, and Ali McCoist. It's called A Shot at Glory.
Christ.
Right, add that one to the list. Yeah.
David Evans wants to know from a Daft Question fame, what are the most underrated villain movie/TV performances? He's a big fan of David Tennant's role as Kilgrave in Jessica Jones, basically a psychotic version of the Doctor Who character. His favourite underrated villain from a movie or TV and the performance of the actor that played them.
The first half of that tweet, I thought David Tennant in Jessica Jones, and then he's just gone and said it. That's a good question, that is, because especially in the comic book world, we get glimpses of some decent villains who then just get killed off, and they don't get the. We don't get to see enough of them afterwards.
Well, it's funny because mine is of the similar universe. I don't want to take your thunder, Stu. You're not about to say this. Well, Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin in Daredevil, I thought was sensational. Really enjoyed his performance in Daredevil as Kingpin. I thought he was excellent. The way he was such a brute, but he was so softly spoken and like threatening without ever raising his voice. And then when he did raise his voice, it meant that bit much more. I thought he was excellent in that.
Yeah, that was. I love that series as well. That one should have survived, but now mine was Hugo Weaving as Red Skull. He was class. He was that good that they brought him back.
Yeah, I mean, like, he's a proper actor, isn't he, Hugo Weaving? And I don't think they used him enough. Like, he could have been like Thanos level. He could have been something you could build a whole phase around. I think very, very good.
We have one final, perhaps the most intelligent of the questions and the most, the critics will talk about this when they review our podcast in 50 years. Tara from the Bluest Star, who is our newest friend in the Killing podcast, wants to simply know, how many marshmallows can you fit in your mouth?
So, are we talking like mini or?
No, I want those big ones that you put on the end, like that you burn on a fire at a bonfire.
Okay, like the classic size.
The classic size, yeah. We're not messing around here with no mini marshmallows.
I'm gonna. At first, I thought she meant marshmallows. They're like the soft, like the chewy sweet things. But then I thought of it. I don't think I've ever had a marshmallow in my life.
What?
You've never had a marshmallow?
I don't think so. Because when you say about marshmallows around the campfire, and I've never been to a campfire. I don't want to go camping. It's outside, so I don't think I've ever had a marshmallow.
Oh my god! So when we start the YouTube channel for this podcast, that can be the intro video. We'll do like a live one from outside. We'll go camping and we'll do a QuestionCast camping, and we'll get Stu to have marshmallows.
I mean, I might have done as a kid. I mean, it was so horrific that I've blocked it out, and maybe that's why. Maybe I nearly choked, and I had too many in my mouth. But I mean, at a guess, I'd probably they're like similar kind of size to sausage rolls, are they? So I could probably easily get 6 or 7 sausage rolls in my mouth.
Now we're talking Stu's currency.
Yeah. I like how Stu measures things in sausage rolls.
Yes.
No, not everything. Well, depends if you're talking about Greg's. Then we're talking.
Yeah. Okay.
Andy, any advance on that? What's that game? It used to be on the National Lottery where you had to like commit to answering more, giving more questions than the next person.
Oh yeah.
Can you commit to any more than 6 or 7 marshmallows?
I reckon. Right. I reckon you can get 4, 6. Double it up to 12. I reckon you could probably get about 18. Because they're squidgy as well, aren't they?
18?
Yeah, I reckon you could get about 18.
18?
Mm.
Oh my god! I don't think that's physically possible. Well, it won't make for good podcasting, but next episode I think we'll
get it back.
Try and attempt to. Well, listen, guys, thank you again for your questions as always. Some really, really good ones there. get them through on the Twitter. So keep your notifications open is the most important thing on Twitter, that you'll get notifications when we tweet. And you never know, your question might get answered. Ooh. So,
you could be an actual fighting-based Twitter account and mistaking us for something else.
Yes, that's what we had today. The first time, actually. I can't believe it took this long. But
6 months.
Because
I expected that to be regular.
Because we're all friends, we retweeted them back because we're nice like that.
Yeah. So we'll move on to the questions. First question, what have we been watching? Stuart, would you like to start us off?
Well, after Matt's enthusiastic shout for what he thinks of 2020 being The Boys, I thought, well, I can't sit on this any longer, so I'll watch the whole thing in the space of probably 2 weeks. We got one a day, and after the first 10 minutes, I thought, this has been a massive mistake. I should have watched this at the time last year. So I just played through that, forced myself to only spend an hour and 10 minutes, however long the episode were, which I like that because it's, we'll do what the fuck we want. We'll tell our stories in the time that we want, so which should be the same for everything, really, not cram it into 45 minutes. But it was superb, as you'd expect, and you can't really say anything about it other than that. But other than that, there is my first actual proper Xbox game, which is almost like watching a film, called Tell Me Why.
Tell me why.
Exactly. Which is like a Telltale style, like Walking Dead kind of adventure game, where you play a transsexual boy who killed his mom because she couldn't handle him transitioning, which is a nice, happy subject to start 2021 with. But it's in 3 parts, so 9 hours in total. But it's really, really well done. And it comes up with a disclaimer at the start saying, pretty much saying, yeah, we've spoken to transgender people and the queer community and all this kind of thing. They fully endorse this game and its sensitivities respected within. So I thought, well, that's a nice touch. So you're not automatically outraged straight away that they've actually put a bit of thought into it. But yeah, I've played the first 2 of 3 and it's great. Really, really good. It's the kind of thing you'd expect on like a PlayStation indie, but it's Xbox exclusive, amazingly. So by the people who made, it's completely gone from my mind. It's made by Dontnod anyway. So it's, but yeah, it's on Game Pass, so you can get it if you want a Game Pass subscription, and you can play it on your phone.
I remember when
very interesting.
I remember the not uproar really because it's nothing to be offended about, but when Mafia 3 came out, easy for me to say, Mafia 3 came out not that long ago. There was a disclaimer at the start of the game saying we haven't sanitized this game and removed like the language and the themes that are in it, but this isn't representative of what is acceptable in the 21st century. And I thought that was a good touch, really, saying we're not gonna insult the player by not, by taking out like homophobia and racism and stuff like that, but it's not on, and we are telling you this. And I thought that was, I think, it was a good touch, to be fair.
Is that the one where is that the one with the black guy coming back from Vietnam?
I think so. There's like there's a strong racial undertones in the film. Put it that way. In the game, sorry, put it that way.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Then.
Okay. Matt, what have you been watching?
So, I'm going to start with what I am going to be watching going forward because I've been suckered in by Facebook videos, and I'm going to start Derry Girls. E4. It just looks like my kind of humour. To be fair, I don't know why I haven't watched it already. I have been watching, or I had watched, after sad news about professional wrestling, or Luke Harper, or the Exalted One from AEW passing away. I watched the resurrection of Jake the Snake Roberts. Have you seen that documentary?
Good documentary.
Really, really good, to be fair. Really, really good. It's very bittersweet, very sad, because in pro wrestling, these are larger than life characters that you almost don't want to see behind the curtain what they really like, because you don't want that image of them to ever be tainted. But it's it's not a rags to riches story or anything like that, but it does show the importance of like camaraderie and solidarity with your fellow man, and like people's kindness can really help people. And it was, I say bittersweet because very recently Jake the Snake Roberts had tweeted out like something like, I'm in a hotel room on my own. I really just need people to speak to right now. Like he's on the road with AEW and stuff like that. He can't drink and stuff like that when everybody might be out partying and things like that. So it just makes you think like he's still struggling with his demons quite a bit. But the documentary itself is fantastic. I'd recommend it. And I've finally, after bowing to peer pressure after so long, started The Mandalorian.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Hamilton then.
No, not Hamilton. No, The Mandalorian. I'm only 3 episodes in because I'm watching it with Sam, who she does this classic thing, right? I'm just share this between the group, just between us 3 on here. Yeah, I'll put something on. I'll say, listen, I want to watch something. I'll have it on in the room. And I'll put it on and she'll start on her phone, yeah, and then it will carry on, and then she'll put the phone down and she'll carry on watching, and I could tell she enjoyed it. And then by the end I go, should we carry on watching this? And she'll go, if you want, you can watch it if you want. I might not watch it. I'll put it on. Oh, hold on, what's going on? It's just one of those. So she likes it, I like it, so we're going to carry on with it. I mean, it's great. I think it's fucking phenomenal, but I'm doing the good husbandly thing, and I'll watch it with her in time.
You are doing well there. So I've been watching, there's a new series of Mark Kermode's Secrets of Cinema, which has started this week on BBC4. And each episode, they just go through a different genre within cinema, break it down, talk about the conventions of it. This week, they were discussing British comedy. Really good, really well done. Talks a lot about the Ealing comedies back in the day. Then goes through some of the bawdy stuff like the Confessions of a Window Cleaner and that kind of stuff. So it's got a bit of everything from like quite the old stuff to the more modern. It's a really good series anyway, so I'd implore people to watch it.
Can I interrupt you, Andy, for 1 second? How much content is there in this series? Because I'll probably go back and watch this. Is there quite a decent backlog of the episodes?
There are 3 episodes a season, and this is the 3rd season.
Oh, nice. So it's decent chunk.
7 episodes.
Oh, class.
Yeah,
I'll get on that.
It's really good. Most of them are available on the iPlayer. I think there's only one special which isn't for some reason. So I think there's 2 seasons, 2 specials available, and 1 episode of the new season so far. But yeah, it's top.
Do they talk to Randy Robin Asquith himself?
No, he's not on it. It's just Mark Kermode talking about genre cinema. It's brilliant.
That is, again, Todd, for you, if that it would even translate at all anywhere else other than England.
I don't think it even translates to modern England, if I'm perfectly honest. Like, it's proper unique to its time, I think, that sort of humour.
Is this
Confessions
sex film that you were talking about a few months ago? It was like some kind of like sex comedy, but it was like real
the Confessions films. There's loads of them. Like Window Cleaner, Driving Instructor. They're the 2 that come to mind straight away. But it's like Carry On, but a bit more Channel 5.
Yeah,
nice.
I don't think you actually see anything. I think it's mostly implied stuff.
Yeah, it's not. It's like really.
I've never really seen one all the way through, but yeah.
Oh, I have. So, when you're like 12 and you say, when you try and sneak a magazine in the bushes and that kind of thing, and you say, "Oh, Confessions film. Oh, they're funny. They are." And you think, "Oh, this is prime time," and you probably do see 70s boobs. More than likely, but I think that's about it. You don't see anything else.
I've got a great question for QuestionCast After Dark when we eventually go on Patreon.
I've also been watching Peep Show. I went through that over the Christmas period. Matt, I know you're a massive fan of Peep Show. Stu, have you ever seen Peep Show?
Yeah. I watched it when it was on years ago. I'm not like massive fan. I'll watch it and I'll laugh at it, but I can't go back and quote things and find specific scenes. It's been too long.
Okay. Yeah.
I strongly think that like if this podcast hadn't landed in the lap, I'd be doing a Peep Show one now. That's how much I love it.
Yeah. I watched Tomb Raider yesterday. It's all right. The 2018 version. Yeah, I thought it was all right. I watched Soul, the new animated film on Disney Plus. That's one of the most beautiful films I have ever seen. Like visually beautiful. The artwork in it is fantastic. The story's top notch as well. I recommend you to watch that. And I also watched Wonder Woman 1984.
Oh, what's that?
Um, I don't quite get what the big deal is with all the criticism. It was okay. Like, it wasn't great.
Serviceable.
It wasn't terrible. It was okay. I don't know.
I think that says it all. That I watched it and had forgot all about it straight away. And considering how much we both loved the first one, I think that's probably what the problem was. That it was just having it on that kind of starting pedestal of the first one, and then it being just a shambles from about halfway through, and kind of it seemed unfinished. I couldn't really put my finger on it because it wasn't bad, but it was just not. It was almost like if the first one hadn't happened and this was just it's a DC film, so it's gonna be all right, like a lot of them are, then maybe it would have been better. But I think it was just disappointment that it wasn't as good as the first.
I thought some of the wire tricks that they did, so like when she's jumping about, they looked a little bit ropey. But it's a different film to the first one. It's almost a different genre, whereas the first one was quite earnest. This was quite bombastic. But it was set in the 80s, so I sort of expect it to be that more over the top and colourful. I thought Pedro Pascal was great, but I think he's great. He's great in everything, isn't he? So my only real criticism, it's about 30 minutes too long. Like 2.5 hours, it's too long for any film, really. So that's my only real criticism.
It's funny because I call that the Django Unchained effect. I thought that about Django Unchained. It was half an hour too long. If it was cut by 20, 25 minutes, it would have been took to that next level, that top tier level. But it was just that slightly went over for me.
It's funny how sometimes by giving us more, they actually take away from what makes something good. I mean, like they do say, brevity is the soul of wit. There is a reason that things have to be concise and to the point, I think.
Yeah, like Valley Girl.
Yeah, like Valley Girl. So, Matt, your question is up next.
So it's a very simple and quick one here. So traditionally, as I'm looking at my popcorn machine in the garage that I have, fresh popcorn machine, popcorn is very close to my heart. And traditionally, the two
and your
flavors,
arteries.
traditionally the two flavors that are accepted in the cinema are sweet and salted. They may ask if you want butter with it. I think in America maybe, but if you could introduce a third flavor to the standards and practices of popcorn in the cinema, what would you like to have as a third flavor of popcorn, Stu?
Curry, of course.
Curry flavored popcorn. Oh man, that would be nice. That would be nice. To be fair, I
Yeah.
can see. I can.
Well,
I can.
You think of like chili peanuts and stuff, and like Bombay mix and things like, and then it's almost like, I mean, you could try it with. I mean, have you tried curried prawn crackers before?
No.
It's obviously a different kind of, because you're in Chinese, but rather than Indian. But Indian curry popcorn, incredible.
I can see. I can, and you know what? As well, that they would. You'd almost have to buy a drink with it as well.
Exactly, thinking ahead.
You know what I mean?
Like a cobra or a tiger with it.
Oh yeah. Here we go. See, we on this podcast are going to revitalise the cinema industry alone. Andy, what would your choice be?
So I've gone for more of a dining experience. So I've gone for a main course and a dessert.
Whoa there.
So I think, I've got two new flavours that I think would be pucker. I don't think you can have anything wet, so I don't think you can go for like caramel or chocolate with it. I don't think that would work. Plus, because you'd hear people licking their fingers after eating it, and I'd have to kill someone. Like it would. No. So my sweet option, I love some dried apple. So I want some dried apple chunks and sweet sugar cinnamon.
Okay, that's okay. I can live with that.
I think that would be lovely. But for the main, so for my savoury, I'm thinking specifically of showcasing Dudley here. I would walk over to Pizza Hut, grab as much of the bacon bits as I can,
Oh, now we're talking.
bang them in, some smoked paprika on there as well.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, that's mine.
I like that. I think they're both gone like very similar routes, really. Mine is a little now. My love of popcorn is to the point where I have a popcorn recipe book, which is like
Nice.
you cook things, then you make popcorn, and then you mix the two together to make like flavor your popcorn, but like in a ridiculously over the top way. So by that, I want to go for some kind of. It wouldn't be wet, like they'd have to make a seasoning out of it, but I want pesto and parmesan. I want an Italian style, maybe a bit of sun-dried tomato paste in there as well. I want some kind of like rich, pesto-y, cheesy Italian, like almost like what you'd expect if like as a pizza seasoning or pizza flavoring is what I want on
Nice.
mine, and that's what I'd go for.
Are we going for Genovese pesto or the red stuff that I can't remember what that's called?
I want green. I don't do French, if that's what it is. no, Italian. I don't. No, I just want. I want green. So I really like red pesto, like as in sun-dried tomato pesto. But I think the green pesto with a little bit of parmesan and maybe some herbs and spices, as they call it across the States. And that's what I want. Let's make it happen.
That's the same good. Yeah, excellent.
It's like this has just like been 5 minutes of a bad episode of The Apprentice 8 where they have to reinvent the food stuff. And
you know what we should do? Actually, we'll put it out. We'll put it out as a poll. We'll put the 3 options on.
Yeah,
and we'll see.
Monday.
We'll see which one wins after the episodes. After the episode comes out, we'll do it. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah.
Vote pesto. Vote pesto.
So my question's next, and I want to know, what is the film you have watched the most in your lifetime, Matt?
I toyed with Pulp Fiction at first because I have seen it a hell of a lot. And I remember, quick sidebar, going on a holiday to Newquay and being at a car boot sale and buying it on video, even though I'd seen it loads of times before then, but I was with one of my friends and he'd never seen it. And when we put it in, because, you don't rewind, this is just, it's on whatever scene it's on. And of course it's the fucking rape scene with a gimp. And it was like, my friend was like, "Oh, it's one of these films, is it?" I was like, "No, it's not one of these films."
Zed's dead.
I'm not trying to say this for like comedic effect or anything, but I genuinely think the film I've seen the most is Being the Ultimate Disaster Movie. Because I love that film. Like it's not challenging, it's not anything like that, but it's just something that puts a smile on my face any time of day, any season, any week, any weather, and for that reason I watch it loads. Like it's got to be a triannual beaning, I guess.
That's for the After Dark podcast as well.
Yes. There's a question about what's your triannual beaning. But yeah, I know it's silly, but I just love that film. So, it's like Peep Show. I'll watch the entirety of Peep Show 2-3 times a year, at least.
The Ultimate Bean movie, is that the first one? Because they did 2, didn't they?
Yeah, they did Mr. Bean's Holiday when he went to, and that's not as bad as people say. It's not fantastic, but yeah, Mr. B, the Ultimate Disaster Movie is when he goes and wrecks Whistler's mother's painting.
I don't remember anything about it. It's been that long since I've seen it.
That's the one with the Ronan Keating soundtrack.
Yeah, it is.
Picture of You. Just very
okay, right. Okay, I remember the song. Stu, what have you seen more than anything else?
I mean, the obvious answer to this would be Home Alone, but we can't keep doing Christmas. Not now. It's over.
It's over.
For 10 months anyway. I went through a few of them, and then more than likely, I mean, you watch a lot of things over and over again when you're a kid, don't you? So probably technically, it's Power Rangers the movie.
Right. Okay.
But that's a silly answer. So, I mean, realistically, it's probably RoboCop, the proper one.
Okay.
just because I love it so much. I mean, it was the only one, the only adult video of that kind of adult video that I owned for a long time, and then I had it on DVD again, and I've ordered it. When I thought about this question, I've ordered it on Blu-ray as well now. More than likely, in 5 years when it's Ultra HD Blu-ray, I'll order it again. But I very rarely do that with films. But yeah, I must have watched it over and over and over again, and it's especially the uncut version when he gets all splattered in the foundry when he gets run over, the guy from ER. Which is rarely shown on anything else apart from the extended version. But it's like you can never go back. So it's more than likely RoboCop.
Okay.
I will give a special mention to Dean on this one, though, because when Independence Day came out, I'm pretty sure he watched it every day for a whole year. So he's definitely seen that. I mean, he can correct me on when this goes out, but he's absolutely seen that film 500 times by now.
Wow. That's incredible.
There's just no words for it.
A friend of mine probably got close to that, and she was obsessed with Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, of all films. Like, that was her favourite film. I haven't spoken to her about it for years, to be honest, but yeah, there was a time she would watch that day after day. I'm like, it's not even that good, but you do you, Bab, whatever.
Stu, quick question. Have you played Mortal Kombat 11 at all?
I haven't played it since they were both put into it now.
I was going to say, because like RoboCop and Terminator and everything's in it now. I've watched, like, I keep seeing videos that pop up on my Facebook of like all the fatalities by RoboCop, and it just looks insane. Like, ridiculous, but it just looks so much fun.
Yeah, it was. I think I have played it somehow. I don't know where, but Goldie sent me as soon as that video was announced, he sent it to me about RoboCop being in it. I thought, yes, this is what we've longed for since the early 90s. But yeah,
isn't Ash from Evil Dead in that as well?
Yeah,
or he's in one of the Mortal Kombats, isn't he?
There's loads of people in 11.
Yeah, it's gone mad now. Like, they've got Rambos in it now as well.
The fuck? Right, okay. So for me, like, I was trying to think, like, when I think of my 30s, it's probably like Shaun of the Dead or Scott Pilgrim. But then looking back at my early 20s, it would have been like Chasing Amy or Clerks, maybe. I watched those a lot. Chasing Amy was like my drunk film. And I'd get back from blast off at 2:30 of a morning, and I'd stick that on. But I think it's probably the film I've probably seen the most, and I saw this twice on the day it was released, is the South Park movie.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah. Like, I watch that 2 or 3 times a year easily. There's just something about it. It's so easy to sit there and watch every time. The story's brilliant and it pulls you through. It's satirical enough that you don't feel like you're just watching dumb cartoon shit. Like, I think it's a properly good film. Doesn't get the respect that it's due.
You know what's interesting about that, actually? Because I watched Team America World Police for the first time in a long time, like about a couple of months back. And I almost expected, because, you know, your taste change, your palate changes for what you enjoy. I almost expected to be embarrassed by it. Like I wouldn't enjoy it. And like, I'm a bit, but fuck me, was it hilarious. And just as entertaining as the first time I saw it. And that's obviously the same people, isn't it? So
yeah,
you must have the same kind of vibes, really, in that, like, you can go back to it now and really enjoy it while you enjoyed it the first time.
I mean, I still sit through Basketball, which is what, 96, I think. And it's still exactly the same humour. They haven't changed, and it still strikes a chord with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm desperate to see Book of Mormon just to see if it's anything. Well, you presume it will be the same, and it's just one of them things where
it's fantastic. It's one of the best live experiences I've had. It's just immense. It was worth the like 80-odd quid I paid to get a ticket. It was brilliant. Yeah, you'll enjoy that if and when you get round to it, Stu.
Yeah, that's on the long list of actual live things to see. But,
well, frustratingly, it was supposed to be in Birmingham.
Yeah, I know.
Last summer, and then obviously the world went to shit. So, hopefully, it'll still be there when it opens back up. Fingers crossed. Who knows?
Yeah. So, I mean, talking about the world going to shit, it kind of ties in perfectly with my question. So, what? And that's kind of where this idea came from, just because of Lockdown 3.0 again, and it could be till May, June, whatever. So the perfect question would be for this time: what is your favourite post-apocalyptic movie, Matthew?
I've got two, because one is verging on the start of potential post-apocalyptic, and then one very much is. So my one that's verging on is Children of Men. Absolutely fucking love that film. It's so I'm gonna say clever, but it touches all the chords and is as relevant now as it ever was, where the simmering underbelly of kind of right wing and discrimination and tension in a country probably like links closer to America than it does to ourselves at the minute. Mixed then with a post-apocalyptic story, or the very beginnings of the breakdown of a society, I just think is fantastic. And then there's the elements like the terrorists, though they don't see themselves as terrorists, kind of vibe that goes on as well, and then the hope at the end of it, and the twist at the end. And I think it's just a fantastic film. And Clive Owen is sensational in it as well. And I don't say that very often.
Yeah,
I think he's pretty one-dimensional at times, personally, but he's excellent in this. Really, really good. The second film, post-apocalyptic, yes, I guess, but again, I suppose it's at the start of all this, really, in 28 Days Later. A film that I had watched to death at university when I studied it, but I think doesn't get the credit it deserves for being this catalyst for the zombie craze that was like the 2010s and earlier. You know, this was before Shaun of the Dead. This was before, I'm sure it was before the Dawn of the Dead remake, and it was before The Walking Dead. It was before everything, really. This was one of those films that kick-started, and technically, it's not even a zombie film. No. Like Danny Boyle has said, this isn't a zombie film. It's a virus that spreads, but they are not zombies. And I just think it's fantastic. It's tense. The music's fantastic. The backdrops are sensational. That scene when Cillian Murphy's walking across Tower Bridge. No, it's not Tower Bridge. Is it Tower Bridge? It might be Tower Bridge.
No, it's the is it Westminster Bridge?
Yes, yeah. That wasn't closed off. That was just London at that time of the morning on a Sunday. And I just think that's sensational. It was that dirty and that rubbish, and this could just happen at any time. And I just think it was just a fantastic film, really well made. And then the sequel, 28 weeks later, while it was a very different film and it tried to be a bit more of a flat out horror action film, it was still good, still serviceable, and was reviewed quite well as well. And only last year, Danny Boyle has come out and said that they are in preliminary talks to do 28 months later as well. So it's something to be excited about. Yeah, I mean, this was like, very early. I think the rights to the film was stuck for a long time with a group of people that didn't talk to each other. So it was one of those deals. But I mean, I think there'd be an appetite there for it. Do you know what I mean? I think like 28 Days Later was one of those very, very early Film 4 projects, I think, when like Channel 4 were committed to putting money into British film.
It was 2002 released, which I've just looked at. I can't believe it's been 19 years since that film was out. It doesn't feel like a film that is that old, to be honest.
No, you could watch that today. It
still feels fresh.
You could watch that today, and apart from the advance in technology in terms of the visual, that could be set now. Do you know what I mean? It's that good. And no matter the time period, it doesn't really make a difference to the overall plot, because it's just a tremendously well executed film. Scary at times when it needs to be, action when it needs to be, good storytelling when it needs to be. Just brilliant film.
Okay. Honourable mention for me, obviously I've got to get the Cornetto trilogy in there, and it's The World's End.
Great
but
film.
I've been back and forth on this. I've got two films in mind. I feel that I might be stealing Stu's thunder on one of them. Both of these films feature Emily Blunt as well. The first one is Edge of Tomorrow, and the second one is A Quiet Place. Like, they're both sci-fi, but they're both very, very different sci-fi. So obviously, Edge of Tomorrow, that is all loud bangs. It's about a time loop story that goes haywire, starring Tom Cruise. So it's big budget. And the other is a much smaller, much more intimate story. And as you can tell from the name, there's no loud bangs in A Quiet Place. So it was those two films, really. I can't say which one I prefer because they're both so different and they're both brilliant for what they are. And I've heard apparently they're going to be doing Edge of Tomorrow 2, possibly starting filming next year because Tom Cruise only does one film a year, doesn't he?
Wouldn't it be great if they just played the film again in the cinemas? Because it's just one big loop.
Yeah, it'd be class.
Didn't they? Wasn't there a different name for the Edge of Tomorrow? Didn't it? Was it released as something else?
Yeah,
like here or
live, repeat. Oh, was
Live,
it
Die, Repeat.
Die?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, which I thought was a terrible, terrible name. So yeah, Edge of Tomorrow sounds a lot better. So that's the name I call it.
Yeah, that original name is exactly why I didn't go and watch it, because of my hatred of Groundhog Day stuff, and it just completely put me off. And I know it's been added to the list because you've talked about it before on here, but yeah, I mean they were right to change the name for the video release, and no one calls it the original one anymore.
I genuinely have no idea why they changed it for the British market. It's not like Edge of Tomorrow has got any links to anything else not that spring to mind anyway. So
no, it was changed on release of the DVD because the name was so bad. It was released over here as its original name. I'm sure it was.
Unbelievable. Just an odd one that is.
But yeah, a Quiet Place was on my mentions with its kind of inherent spiritual brother in Bird Box as well, which is much better than it should actually be. But
yeah, absolutely.
My another one. Does it really count in Escape from New York? Which is it's kind of because it's a kind of end of the world ish, but no. 12 Monkeys for me.
Oh yeah.
A virus that ravages the world so badly that you have to go back in time and change it all and stop it happening. Perfect for now. And one of the rare things as well, where they turned it into a TV series that wasn't shit. Which, if you've
I haven't seen the TV series, no.
Yeah, it's very worth it. It's just really good. I don't say it's really good, but it's serviceable telly for one of them early kind of blockbuster TV moments when it's got to be probably about 10 years old at this point, but yeah, there was that. But my actual winner was Mad Max Fury Road. I love that film.
Yeah, that is a great film.
Do you want to know something, Stu? I took mine out because telepathically I knew it would be yours.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of, when the original ones were fine, they were fun, but it just pisses all over them, all three of them together. I love it. I've watched it in black and white. I've watched it cinema screen. I've watched it in HDR. I've watched it in every possible way, and in the cinema as well. And if we were doing the film you've watched the most in the last 5 years, that would be it, because I love it. It's just superb.
It's one that I've seen it and I love it, but it's not one I'm in a rush to revisit. Like, I'm happy with the experience and I don't feel like I want to keep watching it and ruin it myself. It feels like it's one of those special films that needs the time to breathe between watches.
Yeah, that's like me and Logan, I suppose. Which again could have gone on here, and I've only seen that twice just for that reason. But with Fury Road, every time I've watched it, I've seen something different in it, just because all the fucking chaos that's going on all the time. And you always look at if you're trying to you focus away from just the center of the screen, you look to the sides. And there's shit going on all over the place. It's amazing.
The film that I thought was good, but I suppose it's more pre-apocalyptic than post. 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Oh man,
I really, really enjoyed that, and that's
sensational.
Yeah, when I was doing looking to try and find my pick, and I stumbled across that, and I thought, yeah, that's a film that I don't think gets mentioned, and I think it's better than actual Cloverfield. I don't think Cloverfield was fine, and Cloverfield Paradox was not brilliant. But yeah, 10 Cloverfield Lane, really good film.
You know the reasons why I really enjoyed Uncut Gems? That's how I feel about 10 Cloverfield Lane at parts. It's so tense towards its climax, that it was almost like unwatchable because but it had you at the edge of your seat as well. Really, really good for what is like. They didn't have a lot to work with, did they, in 10 Cloverfield Lane at all?
No.
They did a lot with the cards they were dealt, and obviously it's all intentional. No one forced them to work with a shitty script or anything. It's not like they made chicken salad out of chicken shit. It was there, but it was fantastic. It was really, really well done. Loved it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously off the back of the first one did really well. They could quite easily have just gone on and made a blockbuster, big budget horror film.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't. They decided to make a film set in a guy's underground bunker. And that was literally the whole premise of the film, was them stuck in there. And obviously, I know we spoke last time when we were talking about Raising Arizona, like John Goodman. He is incredible. Like, you see him in films and he's always the comedic guy. But in that, he was the exact opposite. He was the most menacing, like, genuinely terrifying dude. But you've always seen him with this big smile on his face, and it's like that. I don't know, it just didn't compute. And I think they played it to perfection. I think they worked really, really well with it.
Yeah, it's funny because I think about how menacing and how terrifying he was, but I only watched The Borrowers the other day. And like just how funny he is in The Borrowers, and like how excellent he is in The Borrowers as well. So I suppose that's got to be the mark of a fantastic actor, isn't it? Really, someone that can switch tacks so quickly.
When you just mentioned underground bunker, I just had a proper flashback to something I'm sure I mentioned it to you at the time 5 years ago. A little indie film by Norman Reedus in it. Norman Reedus and Jimon, you know what I mean.
Jimon Hunsu.
That's the one. That's the fella.
Yeah.
It's in the near future, breathable air is non-existent, and two engineers tasked with guarding the last hope for mankind struggle to preserve their own lives while administering to the vital tasks at hand. Really, really, really cool indie film. And I spoke to, I went, there's a Twitter exchange with the director as well, because it was one of them, it's just called Air in 2015.
Okay. When was that one? 2015. Okay.
Yeah. It's only about an hour and a half, but it's one of them where I watched it because of Norman Reedus, obviously. But it was one of them rare ones where I tweeted the director straight away and I said, I love this film. This was superb, really well done. I mean, it's on a 5, so it's very like divisive. You either love it or hate it kind of thing. But it was, for what it was, I really enjoyed it.
Did either of you two see a film called Cargo? It was a Netflix exclusive.
No, I know of it.
3 or 4 years
I haven't
ago.
seen it, no.
That was really good. It's starring Tim from The Office, Martin Friedman. I've just got the synopsis here. After an epidemic spreads all over Australia, a father searches for someone willing to protect his daughter.
Ooh.
So Martin Friedman plays a father, and he has got a toddler, and he's trying to find someone to look after this toddler because he has been infected by this zombie-esque disease that's taken over Australia. He befriends this young Aboriginal girl, and he's trying to take her to safety and get his daughter to safety, all while his body is trying to battle against this disease within. It's only got a 6.5, but I thought it was a really, really interesting film. It was fantastic. But it didn't really get much traction, and you'd think with having Tim from The Office in there, it would have been a little bit more popular, especially in this country, because everyone loves Martin Friedman.
Never even heard of it.
But yeah, Cargo, really interesting film. Loved it. Superb. Right, so that's the questions out of the way this week. We're going to be sticking with Cage's comedic turns. Next week, we're going to be watching 2003's Matchstick Men. Have either of you ever heard of this film before? Is this new to you as well?
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. Interesting to see. I mean, doing a stew and not having any like impact on knowing what with Nick Cage, it could be absolutely fucking anything, couldn't it? Let's be honest. It really could be anything. So I'll
just
do well
looking
not
at
to
the
look into it
poster
first. Yeah.
Ian,
Stu, did you know of this one?
I know the song Matchstick Men, but that's it. I mean, the same thing when we looked at the poster and just burst out laughing. So hopefully that's not a sign of things to come where it's the that's going to be the only fun thing about it. And again, I'm not going to research anything about it. I'm just going to dive in. I might do it later, to be honest. It's like 10:20 at night. Why not? But
Yeah, why not?
the
No,
few,
it looks interesting. Obviously, it's Nick Cage and Sam Rockwell, and I do like Sam Rockwell. I think he's a very, very interesting actor. And it's directed by Ridley Scott, who, I mean, what can you say about Ridley Scott that hasn't already been said? It is a film about a phobic con artist and his protege. They're on the verge of pulling off a lucrative swindle when the former's teenage daughter arrives unexpectedly. That's the synopsis. Doesn't tell you a lot. I'm genuinely looking forward to this just from the names who are in this film alone. So that's going to be next week. Fingers crossed it'll be closer to Raising Arizona and not Trapped in Paradise. So thank you very much for joining us once again for this week's QuestionCast. If you can make sure that you've got us followed on the Twitter, we're at cagefightingpod. If you can also drop any emails. If you've seen Matchstick Men and you want to tell us what we need to look out for or what you think's good, get us on the emails, and that is cagefightingpod@gmail.com. Make sure you've got us subscribed on your podcatcher, and a 5-star review is mandatory. I've decided. So for this week, Matt, would you like to say goodbye?
Goodbye, guys. Please, we don't do a rallying call very often, but if you can tell your friends, get them listening, help us grow this year, that would be fantastic, and we can pump out as much content as we can for you guys and try and like explore other avenues if the appetite's there. So, yep, stay safe, everybody.
Stu, would you like to say goodbye?
be well, kids. Ta-ra.
It's goodbye from me as well, and remember, be excellent to each other.